Well, also, the online INCEL movement is reported to be getting more violent and extreme. Well, the Centre for Countering Digital Hate has analysed more than 1 million posts showing a rise in advocacy of rape and mass killing.
Yes, well, for those unfamiliar with the term incel, it basically means involuntary celibate, and it refers to members of online communities, groups of young men who consider themselves unable to attract women, and they tend to have very hostile views towards women as a result.
Well, according to the centre, members of the forum post about rape every 29 minutes, and more than 89% of those who post support rape and believe it to be acceptable. Well, joining us now is Callum Hood, Head of Research at the Centre for Countering Digital Hate. Thank you for joining us. I mean, how serious should we take this problem? Because, of course, you know, hearing about some of the things in the report, it is horrendous, but some people may say that, well, these are kind of young men that are saying horrible things online, but whether or not that actually kind of translates into real world violence is another matter. I mean, what do you think?
Well, this is an emerging problem, and what we've seen, particularly in the US, but around the world, is that there have been 59 killings attributed to members of incel communities in recent years. And of course, just over a year ago in Plymouth, there was a young man perpetrated a mass shooting here in the UK. And our own research showed that he was a member of incel communities and had said himself that this would cause damage to his mental health and had caused him to be more full of rage and more hostile. And what our research is sort of showing is that while these people are often represented as sort of lone wolves, as loners, they're actually members of thriving online communities that are promoting extreme violence against women and mass shootings.
Do you think we take incels seriously enough? Because it is just seen as sort of, it's easy to laugh at men who say, oh, girls don't fancy me. And it's easy to dismiss them as sort of just losers going on message boards. But actually, if you look at in America, for example, a lot of the young male school shooters have often been found to be steeped in these communities because they have such a hatred towards women, because they don't think they can get girls, they think they're outcasts, and they're really resentful. Should we be taking them much, much more seriously?
I think we should be taking them more seriously. Like I said, the characterisation is of a lone wolf, but it's a pack of wolves, really. And the harms are not just limited to violence and mass shootings. What our research shows is that they are increasingly tolerant of paedophilia, for example. So we looked at conversations about paedophilia on this leading incel forum, and that 53% of users thought that child abuse was legitimate. And that was supported by the leadership of the forum, which had actually shockingly changed the rules of the forum in March 2022 from do not sexualise minors to do not sexualise prepubescent minors, therefore carving out a space in which they could sexualise underage girls. So I think there's a wider range of harms here, both to the younger men who get involved in these communities. It's harmful to them and to their mental health. Many of them come into these communities because they're concerned about their body image or because they're sort of unemployed and depressed. So it's a harmful place for them to be. And then it's causing harm to those around them. And we found users as young as 15, and we found users who said they'd been even referred to the UK Prevent programme because of their sort of involvement in extremism, and they come to this forum for help from other users. So there's a really concerning community here, and we know it's already resulted in killings, and there's the question of whether it's causing wider harm as well.
On that point about taking it more seriously, what does that mean practically? Because, I mean, when you look at the term incel, involuntary celibate, that can actually incorporate a very wide range of people, from men that might have a grievance and are expressing, some resentment online amongst like-minded people, to people that have genuinely violent, misogynistic beliefs and are willing to carry it out. So in terms of kind of practically dealing with this, what kinds of things would you recommend in terms of actually how we can respond?
Well, first of all, it's important to say that we're talking about the leading incel communities, and those leading incel communities are very extreme, are misogynist, promote all the things that I've just described, rape, violence, even paedophilia. there is a longer history to the INCEL community. In its early stages, it was more of a support network. That's not really true anymore of the leading community. So that's what we're focusing our reports and our recommendations on. And we think there's some really simple, practical steps that social media companies and big tech can take to try and close down some of the pathways that young men take into these communities and are then subject to sort of greater extremism. So, for example, many of these communities rank very high on Google search for some of the concerns that I've talked about. So search terms to do with body image or to do with suicide and depression. And we're saying that's not a healthy place for these young users to go who are concerned about those issues and be exposed to greater extremism. And then similarly on YouTube, there are actually, we found as a result of our report, some of the most referenced YouTube videos and YouTube channels on the INCEL forum are INCEL YouTube channels with 136,000 subscribers and 24 million views on their videos. So we're saying to YouTube, look, this is a really dangerous form of extremism, actually, and you probably don't want to be hosting it on your platform.